Why should I trust you? You're always tricking me into going places I don't wanna. Oh, you said we were going to a place Walt Disney built.
No, Peter, I said supported.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure.
I am the Snow White now.
What would the Joker say to Disney in these moments? He'd say, you get what you effing deserve, because Disney knowingly hired the most insufferable feminist girl boss in the history of cinema to play its most iconic Disney princess.
You want a nice shiny red apple to put in that pie?
No!
This is not Snow White, but this is the movie that they made. And it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna be a girl boss. She's gonna liberate her kingdom. Well, congratulations, you played yourself. This is what you get when you try to push feminism and bullshit girl boss moves on the people.
Now let's get the latest on the disaster that is Disney's reimagining of a Snow White.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
You know, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
There we go. Brian. See you at Disneyland. Bring money.
Disney spent nearly $250 million trying to rebrand Snow White, and Family Guy turned it into a complete joke. Not just the movie, the casting, the company, the entire collapsing Disney empire, and the wildest part, they didn't even have to name Rachel Zegler for everyone to know exactly who they were roasting. This wasn't a harmless gag. It was a brutal, calculated attack, one that exposed just how fed up audiences really are. And it didn't stop with Family Guy. South Park nuked Disney's entire brand identity, George Lucas took shots at Kathleen Kennedy in public, and now even hardcore Disney fans are turning their backs. It's no longer a few critics on Twitter yelling into the void. It's mainstream, it's viral, and it's impossible for Disney to ignore. So how did Disney's magical rebranding plan turn into a $200 million disaster? Let's dive straight into the collapse.
Great. She honestly looks like like a homeless person at a bus stop. This is and looking rough. I mean, clearly. If you pass by somebody looking like this, you're like, dude, can I part with the grubby dollar bill in my back pocket? Yeah, totally.
So much fun, it should be illegal. Like copyright infringement. Ho ho! See you at the game, Joel! Ho ho!
When Family Guy roasts you, you're supposed to laugh it off. But this time, Disney couldn't. In a brutal episode, Peter Griffin strolls through Disneyland while a roller coaster labeled Disney stock violently plummets behind him. Subtle? Not even close. It was a full frontal declaration that Disney's golden empire is crashing. And the reason is crystal clear. Their obsession with reimagining old classics. And then comes the scene that broke the internet. Peter spots someone attractive on TV. Wow, that girl is hot, he says, only to be told, it's a boy. It happens again, and again, and again. Until Peter finally snaps and screams, "What is everything?"
Oh, that girl's hot.
That's a guy.
That other guy's handsome.
That's a girl.
That cat is cute.
That's a dog.
What is everything?
The line exploded into a viral meme because it hit a nerve Hollywood has been desperately trying to cover up. Audiences aren't confused because they're backwards or unwoke. They're confused because the entertainment industry is shoving change after change with zero explanation, expecting everyone to just smile and applaud. Family Guy didn't just make a joke. They weaponized audience frustration and turned it into a cultural punchline. And Disney, they realized too late that the laughter wasn't with them and it was against them.
Well, they could just write a new story. I mean, that's you don't have to take a classic fairy tale that's been loved for generations and destroy it. You can just write a new story about an empowered girl who wants to be a great leader and not call it Snow White.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go put on my Donald Duck costume. Ready?
And just when Disney thought things couldn't get worse, South Park entered the chat. Their Joining the Panderverse special didn't just mock Snow White. They ripped apart the entire Disney machine. Kathleen Kennedy, the boardroom strategies, the recycled diversity checklist casting formulas. It wasn't random jokes. It was a surgical strike. The whole thing revolved around a mystical object called the Pander Stone, and a version of Kennedy whose mission was simple. Put a chick in it, make her gay. That line wasn't just funny. It became a symbol for everything fans hate about modern Disney. Formulaic, pandering, soulless storytelling. The Panderverse wasn't fiction. It was a mirror held up to Hollywood, showing exactly how obvious and lazy the virtue signaling had become. South Park didn't roast Disney. They dissected them, exposed the wires, the gears, the artificial marketing slogans. and let the world see the ugly truth underneath. And once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it.
And so hopefully this flops so hard that they finally learn their lesson.
Will they, James?
Well, Andrew, woke is a poison apple and Disney have had a big bite of it. This movie should be called, they should call this movie Snow Woke and the Seven Pronouns. It's so bad. If you were to watch this movie on an aeroplane, Andrew, you'd walk out.
It wasn't just satirical shows firing shots. George Lucas, the actual creator of Star Wars, publicly embarrassed Kathleen Kennedy to her face during a panel. The moment was awkward, tense, and unforgettable. Lucas cracked a joke that on the surface sounded playful, but the meaning underneath was crystal clear. He was done pretending everything was fine. The audience laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of joy. It was uncomfortable because it was real. Even Lucas, the man Disney bought Star Wars from, was openly questioning the leadership tearing his legacy apart. And if George Lucas, the godfather of modern sci-fi storytelling, thinks the ship is sinking, that's not a rumor. That's a flashing red siren. When your own legends are roasting you in public, it's not a haters gonna hate moment. It's a full-blown crisis. And Disney, arrogantly believing they could silence criticism with PR campaigns and carefully staged interviews, found themselves utterly defenseless against a creator who had nothing left to lose and nothing left to protect.
More on Disney's nosedive. We keep talking about these woke projects of Disney and how recently, funnily enough, right on the back of the Trump administration coming to power, they've turfed a lot of their DEI projects and inserting particularly LGBTIQ indoctrination into cartoons and programs that are streamed into the little minds of millions around the globe. But their latest foray had already been created, that being the idiotically woke version of Snow White.
And somehow, Rachel Zegler ended up as the face of the whole disaster. At first, she defended her casting in Snow White, pushing back against critics by highlighting modern representation. It was a safe, predictable move, one Disney probably applauded behind the scenes. But then, she started openly trashing the original film, calling it weird, calling the prince problematic, and laughing off the classic fairy tale roots. She wasn't just promoting a new take, she was insulting the very foundation of Snow White's legendary status. Fans didn't just disagree, they felt betrayed. You don't stand on a century-old pedestal and then spit on the bricks beneath you. If you're stepping into an iconic role, the bare minimum expectation is simple: respect the legacy. Instead, Zegler threw gasoline on an already burning fire. And audiences, they didn't forget. The anger didn't stay confined to a few social media posts. It snowballed into memes, into boycott campaigns, into a massive cultural backlash that Disney could never control once it got rolling. Rachel Zegler didn't just break the fourth wall, she burned it down.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Weird. Okay, weird. Weird. What? I'm sorry. I mean, what?
But if there was one moment that truly symbolized the collapse, it was the empty theater. Rachel posted a TikTok showing herself walking into a screening of her own movie, bouquet of flowers in hand, smiling like it was a grand event. Except, the seats were nearly empty. No buzz, no excitement. It looked more like a Tuesday afternoon matinee at a struggling indie theater than a Disney premiere. Within hours, memes exploded. She brought flowers to a funeral, one person joked. Another called it the loneliest Disney premiere in history. People laughed, but behind the laughter was something darker: pity. Because even those who couldn't stand what Disney had become couldn't help but feel a little sorry for the spectacle. But the real sting was deeper. Audiences weren't just rejecting a movie. They were rejecting an entire corporate philosophy. The empty theater wasn't just a fluke. It was a warning sign. And if Disney refuses to read the writing on the wall, even bigger disasters are waiting around the corner.
This thing is an absolute disaster, all right? An absolute disaster. This is an absolute calamity. This is a catastrophe. This is a tragedy, an apocalypse, an accident, a fatality, a debacle. This is a casualty. This is a cataclysm, a crash, a collapse, an upheaval, a meltdown, a misfortune, Armageddon, doomsday.
Disney's mistake wasn't just making changes. It was pretending that changes don't matter. Snow White in the original story is described as having skin as white as snow. Changing that without even acknowledging the cultural significance felt, to many, like rewriting history, not evolving it. And when criticism hit, Disney doubled down instead of engaging fans honestly. They insulted their own audience's intelligence. They acted like thousands of angry fans were just imaginary trolls. But guess what? You can't gaslight the people who made your company a billion-dollar empire in the first place. Result? A complete collapse of goodwill. Worse, Zegler's political activism during the Israel-Gaza conflict and her public clashing with co-star Gal Gadot, who is pro-Israel, dragged a fairy tale movie into real-world political warfare. At that point, Snow White wasn't just a movie, it was a battleground. And audiences had no interest in fighting for it. They wanted magic. Disney gave them lectures.
And once again, the public has said, we hate your woke bull crap.
You'd think after losing nearly $200 million on Snow White, Disney would step back and rethink. Instead, they're doubling down, and this time with Tangled. Reportedly, Rachel Zegler is attached again. The budget? Over $500 million all in. That would make Tangled the most expensive Disney remake ever, and one of the most expensive movies ever made, period. It's insane. It's financial Russian roulette. And guess what? The backlash is already happening. Before a single frame is filmed, fans are already rolling their eyes, already preparing the memes, already sharpening their knives. People aren't rejecting Tangled because they hate new movies. They're rejecting it because they don't trust Disney anymore. And once you lose trust, you lose everything. When you pour $500 million into a project, the expectation isn't just for decent, it's for a bulletproof, unmissable event. Right now, it's already looking like another disaster in the making, and this time, Disney might not have any magic left to save them.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Well, I'm sorry they didn't line up to see your love quite clearly based on the box office numbers.
Family Guy mocked them. South Park obliterated them. George Lucas laughed at them. And audiences everywhere are voting with their wallets. Disney thought they could rewrite the magic formula, but all they did was destroy the trust that built their empire. And with a $500 million Tangled remake on the way, it looks like they still haven't learned a damn thing. The real question isn't whether Disney can fix this. It's whether audiences even care enough to give them another chance, and right now, it's not looking good. It's not.